Hey everybody, welcome to Geeksvana Live this evening, and we're here to talk about the CAA. Surprise, surprise, I suppose. We have another public consultation that's come out, and this one has certainly turned things a little bit spicy, shall we say. Coming up, Graham will be joining me along with a special guest, Dorian Ellis of DroneDesk, to discuss the main topic today. Firstly, here is a bit of an introduction to the topic itself before we bring the guys in. Today, we're going to be talking about a topic which on the surface appears to only impact a small number of drone users. However, it's such a shocking move and out of any reasonable context that it is something we need as the entire drone industry and community to get involved with, especially in terms of responding to the public consultation. If it's this group now, it'll be the rest of us later, certainly. The CAA have released their public consultation on changes to their charges. This can be read by downloading CAP 3047, the link in the description. Amongst these changes within the RPAS section is a projected increase in charges, which is placed at the feet of users in the specific category applying for an operational authorization. I will read from the document to explain the increase, which as a headline actually has an increase from £234 to £500, and that's a yearly charge, remember. So we're talking about such a substantial increase, it really cannot be justified or explained in any kind of incremental terms. So let's have a look at the CAA explanation on this document, and then we'll bring the guys in to discuss that particular topic. And it's going to be starting on page 13 of the document here. So I'll just pop over to this page here with the guys in the background, and we'll bring it up. Here we are. So the CAA is introducing a new charging framework for the digitizing specific category operation platform, DISCO or DSCO or whatever it's been called this week. This framework supports the launch and further development of the digital platform and the specific operations risk assessment SORA methodology, which will enhance the safety, assurance, and efficiency, we like that word, of applying for operational authorizations in the specific category of RPAS operations. The development costs have been funded through the CAA's efficiency and investment plan, and it's important to state that in terms of actually how this digitization has happened, that's already been funded elsewhere. However, the increased ongoing cost of providing this enhanced service necessitates a higher level of ongoing funding. We propose to achieve this through a combination of price increases, reflecting the significant improvement in service and in line with the user pays concept, and through industry growth enabled by the introduction of the SORA methodology and DSCO platform. I really want to sing DISCO with this one, but anyway, some people call it DISCO. Today we're calling it DSCO. We'll see what we call it next week. The new platform introduces efficiencies to the current approval processes for RPAS applications. Existing legacy processes have led to long application lead times, dissatisfaction from customers, and have reduced the efficiency of CAA colleagues. It's quite a harsh thing to say, isn't it? The introduction of the SORA methodology alongside this new platform addresses these issues by providing transparent risk assessment framework, which coupled with the new remote RPAS flight worthiness frameworks will improve safety assurance to RPAS operators and the CAA. The anticipated growth in the RPAS aviation sector also means the development of a scalable digital platform to cope with the future demand, which is, they're saying here, is vital. So the introduction of the new digital platform offers several benefits, lucky us, to the RPAS operators. So enhanced safety, the platform together with SORA methodology will improve safety with a more rigorous and transparent risk assessment process. Okay. Improved efficiency, cost avoidance. The platform has been designed to grow alongside industry. Professionalism of the RPAS industry. So I giggle when I say this one. So enabling more transparent, efficient, and effective applications made via the SORA framework. The platform will help professionalize the RPAS industry. This will provide operators with greater certainty at the point of application, support growth in the sector. This change will also see a substantial increase in oversight activity performed by the CAA, which is fundamental requirement of the new methodology, and et cetera, et cetera. So it goes on basically here to say that the predefined risk assessments, PDRA 01, which was the existing form, which was introduced early in FY 24-25, with a substantial positive impact on application lead times, reducing these on average by 13 days to 23 minutes. And basically, the cost increase here, they're saying the service, enhanced service, necessitates an increase, necessitates, as it says here, in the declarative PDRA applications from £234 to £500. We will be exploring the delivery of additional PDRAs over the course, etc., etc. And then they go on to discuss the other newer charges in terms of the higher risk flights, etc., that they are considering and talking about in terms of the wider use of the what is currently the specific category. So that's the story from the CAA. I want to bring the guys in to talk about this because we've got several points we want to discuss over this. So hi Graham, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah, all good. Or I was until this came out, and then all the colour drained from my shirt.
Yes, it was a bit of a shocker, wasn't it? Really, the colourful Graham Degg shirt has become a bland colour, and I think if you're not angry at the CAA for anything else, you should be angry about that, frankly.
This was day glow.
Yes, very good. And for the first time on the panel, we are joined by Dorian Ellis of DroneDesk. Hi, Dorian. How are you?
Hi, Sean. I'm very well, thank you.
Welcome to the Madhouse. Now, for anybody that doesn't know you, I've got your website here. Could you just tell us a little bit about what DroneDesk is and the service that you offer?
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you who haven't come across the name before, DroneDesk is a web-based application primarily for commercial drone operators. So it provides everything you need to manage your drone operation, essentially. So team management, fleet management, super quick flight planning, typically enabling you to reduce your flight planning time by around 65%. It also takes care of flight log syncing, as well as flight log and maintenance reporting, all in a single interface. So the system works for any size of operation. So if you're a solo operator or a large national, it'll work for you. We offer a 14-day, no obligation free trial. Nice. So if you haven't tried it before, please head along to the website, dronedesk.io. And have a go.
And this is one of those products, and Graham will agree with me that this really isn't an advertisement, because this is, in my opinion, the only product that offers everything that DroneDesk does, and is one of the rare products within and services within our industry that I hear nobody having a single bad word to say about it, frankly, which is impressive. That is partly, I think, down to Dorian's passion for the product, and you will rarely find a business owner that puts as much time, effort, and everything else into their service, and it's incredible, isn't it, Graham?
It is. I was talking to a lady who should remain nameless because I don't want to embarrass her, just this evening about a specific topic we'll come on to at some point, possibly. Yeah, she was singing your praises from a great height, Dorian, and saying very nice things about you. And as you know, if I flew more than once every 2 months on a commercial job, I'd be fully signed up. But we will get there. There's things happening in my life that might drive me in your direction soon.
Which is no doubt going to increase the risk of the entire drone industry. But yes, allow us to blow bubbles, because we obviously haven't seen you on here before, and we don't get to see you and chat to you enough. So when we do, we want the opportunity, because we genuinely, I get nothing but not even good feedback, fantastic feedback from people that have built their businesses around your service, which is it's just such a rare thing in the industry, frankly. So thank you for all the work you do, as someone that's often accused of spending a lot of, people wonder how I have the hours in the day to do some of the things that we do. I bow my head to you with the amount of releases that you get out there, etc. It's absolutely fantastic.
Hence the bags under the eyes, but yeah. So enough of that now, because I am literally.
Okay, so coming up tonight, we're going to be talking about. I've put 3 questions to the CAA, and we've got some answers back from that. We've also got a very brief statement from them as well. I want to bring up the LinkedIn post that Graham posted advertising this show, which some of you may have found your way via that, because it's interesting to see the responses in terms of people's comments. Obviously, with it being LinkedIn, there's a lot of professional operators commenting on this situation from there. And also, of course, get the thoughts and opinions of Graham and Dorian, two of highly respected individuals from the community. And really, where I wanted to start.
Go on then, we'll give you that one.
is really this, to me, one of the fundamental issues here. Set aside just how dramatic the increase is, but surely the CAA should have been explaining this and should have been bringing us along in the journey with them. And although they stated that there could be an increase coming, which I think is slightly disingenuous in the way they put it in this report, because in the previous report they said it could increase, and you know, whenever you read that, it could increase, but not likely to increase, and actually could even double. I think people may have had a different opinion on disco, frankly. There was nothing really in any of the documentation before this to suggest such an increase is coming. And you know, and remember, as I pointed out when I was reading out the introductory part of the RPAS section of the document, this is not to recoup setup cost. This is simply the running cost, which to me seems extraordinary. What are your thoughts on it, Graham?
It is staggering. I wish I could say it's surprising, but given what we've seen from the CAA on consultations over the recent couple of years, it can't be a surprise. I don't know where they get the number from. There's no clue in there. I don't even know what the number is, because if you read the details of the RPAS section of this document, it suggests that actually by the time it comes out, they can be adding on a 5.9% increase for inflation and funding specific activities as detailed in section 2, because those are exclusive of these changes. So it could be £530, guys. It's just absolutely staggering. But not a surprise, because there is a competence question. There is a competence question. There's got to be.
And Dorian, as somebody who obviously works very closely with a large number of operators who will be directly impacted by this, what were your first thoughts when you read the 500 level? Did it shock you? Was it something you were expecting, or?
So no, wasn't expecting it, and it is somewhat flabbergasting. But I think it's really important to say that this is a consultation. So you know, these increases aren't agreed; they're not definite at the moment. And as we know, people with loud enough voices can make a difference. Graham. So I think it's really important to stress the fact that kind of we as a community have the opportunity to act and provide input to the consultation to help avert what could be a potentially damaging price rise. So I'd encourage everyone who's on the live stream to head over to the consultation response page and submit your views. Don't leave it to somebody else, because they won't do it. Do it yourself. There's a link on page 5 of the CAP that'll take you right there. Or if you haven't read the CAP yet, just head to drndsk.io/how much.
Excellent. I like
and
that.
That'll transport you directly to the form.
And as I was saying in the introduction as well, this is, although this impacts a smaller number of it's a very important number of operators. This is down to the entire drone community to come together. And you know, even if you're out flying a Mini 3, etc., and you only fly recreationally, it's important for you to put your thoughts forward on this, because this is quite a seismic step in terms of wanting to up the ante in terms of charging, etc. In a non sanctioned way, frankly, that we're not able to work out the math behind it, and that could impact everybody further down the line. It could get dangerous, frankly, for the every user.
Some of those people out flying a Mini 2 today for fun, or a Mini 3 or whatever it may be, may actually be wanting to come into the industry at some point and set up a small business. And this will be this plus increases year on year will be what hits
Exactly,
them.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
you know, that could be the difference between setting up and not.
And of course, if should a regulator, should a government appointed regulator wish to change the airspace in terms of the type of user, then one way they will do that, if they want to push it more towards a corporate space, then of course they're going to do that by upping the costs. The same happened actually in general aviation. When I started this channel, we had a few videos talking to GA pilots in terms of the whole thing of GA pilots hate drones, and we did a few videos to try and dispel that a little bit, because actually often GA pilots also fly drones actually. And those were some great videos, but I also got a lot of stories back from people talking about the fact that people who were in their 60s still flying manned aviation, and they were saying actually when they started out it was a hobby, and it wasn't affordable, but it was certainly an awful lot more affordable. And then the corporations and the money men and the lawyers and the regulators and everything else came in, and it of course changed into what it is now. And even the base level of manned aviation is an expensive thing, and it's concerning, because I feel like this is one of those jumps towards that, which is a little bit more blatant.
It's an expensive thing, but we've got evidence in here that in some ways it isn't as expensive as putting a little plastic plastic big toy into the air. It is, you know, flying manned, where people do die and get injured on a not irregular basis, is cheaper.
Yeah.
Than flying a drone, and we'll perhaps come on to that later. I also really do take offence at that whole section on professionalism of the RPAS industry. Do not call the professionalism of an industry regulated by the CAA into question as though that might be an issue to do with the industry. The CAA, who stopped forcing classroom teaching because there was a COVID and videos came in, after COVID went away, the videos didn't go away.
No, and
you're not enforcing classroom teaching, also, which helps professionalism.
Yeah, but it's also, I understand that actually more oversight of the industry will give it perhaps a more professional sort of image. But the problem is, if you put the prices up that it puts so many people off, then you're going to lose that user base anyway. So yes, that
or they'll still be operating, but under cover of
indeed.
Darkness, and not
exactly.
Not with no oversight in place, and that does not help safety.
Indeed. Right, so we've got some answers to some brief questions from the CAA, which I've put to them today, and I do want to take the time to thank them for being very helpful and happy to provide information on this topic to us, which has been fantastic, despite the show being this show coming to air very quickly after release. So I want to thank them for that. If anybody wants a copy of the tiles that you're going to see here from the answers, particularly the longer one, then do email me and I'll be more than happy to forward those to you. So we put some questions forward to them. They first of all made a specific statement within their reply, which reads, please note that the CAA does not make a profit from these charges. We look to solely cover our ongoing costs. If the size of the PDRA 01 sector increases over the next year above estimates, then we would adjust the costs to accommodate this accordingly. Prices can fall as well as rise. We have some smiles from the panel.
I'm not sure we've got any evidence of that.
Indeed.
Although to be fair, and again, a little bit disingenuous in the document on page 14, where they talk about predefined risk assessments, and they talk about how in the 24-25 consultation, we highlighted that the service would be introduced without an adjustment. Initially be introduced without an adjustment to the price point, but actually when they released the scheme of charges, something they hadn't covered in the consultation at all was that they'd changed the price point for renewals to the same as a new application. And it was only when I jumped on them from a great height on LinkedIn that they put the tail between the legs and changed it to the price for. So that is something which I won't call a lie, because I don't want to slander anybody.
Yeah. Okay, so first question, we asked them if the PDRA is basically going to continue being valid for 1 year, because obviously you see that price, it was it was the question that some people started to message me with and email me with. So I thought I would actually include that within it, basically. And we got a very simple answer that the PDRA validity period will remain 12 months. So there is no question that this has been increased to extend things. And I think some people were confused on that because particularly at DroneX, around some of the talks that were given there was talk of the PDRA period extending. That may well happen or not, but certainly this increase is nothing to do with that, which I think is an important one to put across. The next question we asked is that if the PDRA is to stay at 1 year, which it is now, could you explain the reason for such a substantial increase in fee, especially as the new digital application process was supposed to make the process more efficient? How does efficiency increase cost by so much? And this was the answer they gave to this. It's a long one. Before the introduction of the DSCO system, a PDRA 01 application would take approximately 16 days to be manually processed. This frequently led to complaints from operators and also reduced the efficiency of CAA staff. The new system, which will also support UK SORA, reduces this processing time down to 23 minutes in most cases. It's an interesting part that they talk about there, and we will come back to that. To support the evolution of the specific category and the rollout of UK SORA in 2025, we've invested in a robust digital system that can support the declarative nature of the PDRA 01, as well as the more complex UK SORA application process. This system is not financially supported or maintained by the UK government in any way. However, DSCO must adhere to government guidelines regarding security, functionality, and accessibility. The CAA operates on a cost recovery basis, and unfortunately, that means we are obligated to pass on the associated costs to design, build, and cover ongoing support for the DSCO system to the end user. There is another tile here. Which this is a continuation of the previous answer. The PDRA 01 price changes we are consulting on are based on the predicted size and growth of the specific category over the next year, as well as increased oversight of PDRA 01 operations. The prices have been adjusted to cover the financial overheads of the DSCO system and associated oversight process. Because, of course, just in case you didn't know, the oversight process they're talking about, essentially what has happened here is previously you would apply manually as such, and you would submit your operations manual, your documentation, etc., all to the CAA. You'd fill out your application form, pay your money, and then somebody would take that on the CAA desk and basically would process that. Now what happens is essentially you go to a website and you tick a box to say you promise to do that you're going to follow everything and that you have a correct ops manual, and everything else is you essentially declare yourself fit and proper. And very, very quickly, the system then registers you. So it's slightly, to me, it doesn't add up particularly when they talk about the fact that it reduces the processing time down to 23 minutes in most cases.
Yeah, it's disingenuous. They're comparing apples with pears there.
Yeah. I understand what they're trying to say, but they're not processing it. And then the oversight part of it then comes on to audit. So during that 12 months that you'll then have this operational authorization, you are likely, it seems, to be audited. And of course, that is when they do then give you the 28 days to check all the documentation and everything. So it's a slightly strange explanation to me that seems to have a few holes in it. It also, of course, talks about the fact that they have to pass on the cost recovery and everything else like that, when, of course, in terms of the design and everything else of this system. But yet in the consultation itself, they talk about that cost was covered by another input of cash within the CAA, basically, and it's only the ongoing costs that they're now looking to cover.
They talked about saving 5 million quid's worth, or delivering 5 million quid's worth of efficiencies, which you would have thought would have paid for the system development. But the whole DSCO deployment is an interesting question, because arguably it's actually more painful for drone operators now. It's simply delaying the pain. So rather than what we used to have to do, which was panic once a year, get your ops manual together, get all your flight logs together, and submit them with your manual, you can skip all that now, tick a few boxes, and away you go. But within a few weeks, you're likely, and how likely it is up for debate. But you're likely to get an email saying you're going to be subject to an oversight audit, and then you have to panic, right? So you have to get all your logs together, review your ops manual. In addition, you have to also get evidence together of the last 3 jobs you did. So arguably, you're having to do more work. So in actual facts, for operators under PDR 1, there's no increase in efficiency for them.
No.
Just a deferral pain.
Yes.
And in fact, it's even more painful than it used to be. It is, though, much cheaper for the CAA, because apparently only around 20% of applications are audited. Health warning on that number, as I don't have a kind of official source for it. So by that estimate, the workload has dropped by 80% for them.
Exactly, and it's
assuming they checked every application prior to
indeed, and what you're saying in terms of the stress load on the yearly activity of an operation authorization holder is correct, because whereas although it was a yearly panic, at least you knew when it was going to happen, so you could plan your business practice. Now with an audit, it could happen at any point, and yes, you should be ready at any point for it, of course. And I know that those arguments, but it is still a stress. This can happen at any point.
But it's yeah. I mean, as an operator, I know that if I go and do a renewal tomorrow, I will have to check through and ensure that I have all those things in place, because I'm a professional, despite not having been professionalized yet by the new system. So I will make sure. So I've got to check and make sure I've got all those things. My ops manual is in order. It is, but I will check. Then I will declare, and then a month later, 2 months later, I'm going to have to go and do all that again. Oh, and the ops manual may have changed since then, and I've updated my maintenance plan. So I'll have to go and grab all those things again. So I've now got to do the basic job twice. And I've had complaints from people tied up in the audit system who got through in the end. So they didn't actually have a problem with the way they were operating, but they were, they've taken from May through to August, 3 months of, will I get my, will the CAA take my OA, the lifeblood of my business, and take it away from me?
One of my issues with this as well, which is one of my notes I've put on this particular answer, is who asked for this, from the point of view that their assertion is that the speed of application is one of the major factors in bringing about the increase to 500 and forming this new system. Did anybody actually ask for this? We're told that people were complaining about 16-day waits, and I don't remember that. I don't remember it being the wait that was the. If everybody could get their OA within 14, 16 days, I think they would have been pretty happy. It was the holds. Yeah. It was the, frankly, incompetence in terms of what those holds were for sometimes, and the bizarre things, using a different font and some of the extreme stories that are out there. Those were the cause for complaint. So it was actually the efficiency of the previous system. If of course, if you ask somebody, would you like a system that is, arguably quicker, etc.? Yes, but nobody, it kind of feels like the wrong way around to do this. They really should have said, we have a new system. It's going to cost a lot of money. It's going to cost more money in terms of the yearly cost, and it means you can get audited at any time. Then I'm not sure anybody really would have wanted that.
It'll do this small thing for you.
Yes.
It'll do one small thing,
very small thing for you.
And I know what the industry would have said.
Yeah, exactly. And it's.
They would have said what we were constantly saying. Can you please learn to do what you're doing right? Can you please employ some people who actually know what a drone is? That'd be good.
Exactly.
And what the documents are.
Yeah. And it's just that thing really that we kind of being thrown into a system that's getting ready for SORA, and I understand that, I really do, but they need to, and I've seen this in other consultations over the remote pilot training and other bits and pieces, where you start to get the impression that they really, PDRA is almost in the way. These darn group of operators that are actually paying a lot of the charges and fees that for the RPAS side of things in the CAA, those pesky clients of ours are kind of getting in the way, and we want to move on to Boeings and Wings, etc., having drone deliveries and large commercial drone operations, hence the very expensive applications once you start to go further down the list. And I just think it's a little bit disingenuous. And I think if that is the case, they need to come out and say it. I know that PDRA is something that won't be here forever. But if your existing operators are operating within that, you have to look after them, surely. Because actually there was one part that I want to pull up as well, which was interesting, which is actually in the CAP introduction. So I've just moved my page incorrectly there. So let me just bring this up very quickly. And this is actually, so this is the CAP 3047. So if you go to the page that Dorian was talking about with his how much link, which I absolutely love, this is the page that will come up. And this consultation is an opportunity for us to gather feedback from stakeholders and, wait for it, ensure that our proposals align with the needs and priorities of those we regulate. Now, I understand that is obviously a general CAA point that they've made there. This isn't actually something specifically towards RPAS, but it is still the priority of what they're trying to do. Stakeholder input is invaluable in helping us refine the approach and making informed decisions that benefit all parties involved. I personally don't think that this
can't see a benefit.
Yeah, I don't think that this is aligning with everybody's needs and does that. So that then led me on to my next question, which was, what research did the CAA conduct with regards to the impact that such a steep rise in PDRA fee might have on those operating within the specific category? And this was their answer. With the imminent rollout of UK SORA, there is so much change happening in the sector that any research carried out on impact would be almost immediately out of date and unreliable. CAP 3047 is a consultation, and we do encourage all operators to express their views as part of the process. To reiterate, the CAA does not make profit from these charges. We look to solely cover our ongoing costs. If the size of the PDRA sector increases over the next year, as I said in their initial statement, above estimates, and then we would adjust the costs to accommodate this accordingly. Prices can fall as well as rise, as they were saying before. So,
I mean, for that second bit, apart from being irrelevant to the question, in what world of economics do you double the price of something and expect higher demand? Apart from some luxury goods, which this is.
Indeed. Well,
this is a necessity nobody wants to have to buy. Double the price, that'll draw the punters in. Have they never worked on a market stall?
And I understand what they're saying.
Have they not watched The Apprentice?
Yeah, I understand what they're saying in the first paragraph there, where they say that this is obviously a consultation. And as Dorian was quite correctly saying before, this is an opportunity for everybody to put their voice forward. But to say that there has been no impact study whatsoever, I mean, we've just had today a PDRA 01 questionnaire hitting people's emails and asking questions. How surely they could have actually carried out a simple piece of research. They have everybody's email address. It's literally all of the people that will. It's not that you have to track these people down. They hold OAs with you, and they have put out. They have just put out an email.
How many times do they tell us that they're not really allowed to use those email addresses to tell us about things? Yeah. And here they are using them to send out a survey.
Indeed. I mean, it is something which is of huge concern. Now, before we come on to Graham's LinkedIn replies, which I do want to have a look at through some of the response from industry on this, we have asked the CAA for figures, and they are promising that they are gathering those for us. So we've requested that they release the figures in terms of the costs of the new system, along with the running costs and the breakdown of the system ongoing. So we need to know, if they are asking us to see the fact that they need to increase these figures based on all of this, then really they need to show us those figures. They need to show us the math behind it, basically. So that will be coming, and we will of course bring that to you as and when we get that, because I think it's vital, isn't it? I think we need to see where all this will be going, basically.
I'm amazed that in the same week that they released the CAP document asking people what we think of the costs, they're not ready with the answers to questions people might have about the costs.
Yeah, It's it's something that perhaps it isn't something, perhaps they weren't expecting it, perhaps it's something they don't just have their, they can't put their finger on straight away, but there we go. Who knows? So let's have a very quick look.
Just for
yes, please go.
Increasing the cost 234 to 500 quid. 500 sounds like a very convenient number. Somehow it doesn't feel like this. It's a very round number.
Quite round, isn't it?
Yeah. So, assuming there's 3,000 PDR-AO1 holders, is that around?
Yes, 3,600.
So in addition, that's incremental income of 798k for CAA, assuming everybody renews. Just for context.
Yeah,
and that's without any kind of growth, and obviously they're talking about the fact that they're hoping to see growth in the sector, etc. It's a lot of money in it, and we need to start seeing what's happening behind the scenes in terms of where that money's going. Suddenly, can a digital system cost that much ongoing? And I understand there's obviously the cost of auditors, so that there are people, they are employing people to come along and do those jobs, and they're good people. One of them is Keith from West Midlands Police has gone over to be one of the CAA auditors. So there are good people within the system, and we rarely have any issue with the individuals themselves, but we need to see that. We need to see where these costs are, frankly. Okay, so having a little look at Graham's post here over on LinkedIn, which is where he was very kindly advertising this particular show, but also raising the issue to people in terms of asking if they think that will be justified. And just want to read a couple of these comments out, and we will come on to the comments in the chat as well. So Ian Leslie, I seem to recall at a meeting they were implying the issue of PDRA would last longer, circa 3 years between renewals. And yes, that is something that I think people have heard. And again, in the comments to here, actually, people have said if it was for a longer renewal, then of course, that makes more sense. Of course it does, because it then comes back down to more towards the existing figure.
And as I think as we've discussed, it reduces their costs of actually running the system. And the
if it's such an expensive system itself to run, then surely actually increasing the time between renewals might well be something that could actually end up saving them money, frankly. And Mark Wingard's pointing out here in terms of the cost, as Dorian was just saying, the 776,000 income boost to CAA income, plus the 2.2 they roughly make from the BS operator ID, etc., then yes, it is starting to become more. Now, Gary Mortimer, our friend over at SUAS News, also talks about the fact that obviously it is a small group in terms of even within aviation. Obviously, active RPAS users is 513,000. There's 3.6 at the moment in terms of operational authorization holders who'll be affected by this. But it is, I still genuinely feel that this is something which impacts all 513,000 RPAS users, because this is something which is a real benchmark in my opinion, in terms of actually where we're going, basically. Mark Lear, who's one of the very active flyers out there, although I think, I'm not actually sure if he flies under a PDR-AO1 or if he does it most of his work in the open category. And he's asking, then how will we benefit from the increase? You don't pay for something that doesn't help your business, do you? No change for us other than this ridiculous hike. No policing of illegal drone operators, full stop. Police stance, report to CAA. CAA stances, report to the police. Puts more pressure on commercial pilots whilst leaving the rest to their own devices. The number of people who call me asking if I do drone repairs because they're crashing, etc., has obviously increased. And he says PS also charges at smaller airports. Indeed, the poor London pilots have to pay ridiculous amounts. Yes, indeed, the cost of flying drones for commercially is certainly increasing overall. So yes, and this has been an extremely popular post. Andrew Heath, who's the director of Cover Drone, if that price increase is correct, then they need to come out and justify it. Something isn't right, and people deserve an explanation. Andy Sproson, who's actually one of the chaps who does have the, Andy has the spraying OSC, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's got the OSC for big
That's
spraying
right. Yeah,
drones.
it's a very, very impressive OSC. Wasn't it the first of its kind or something of that nature?
It was in the UK, yeah.
Ramifications on all levels, RE costs going up to cater for the sale markings and advanced courses, which only means higher course and assessment fees to pilots. It does worry me that an advanced operations might become out of reach for many. 100% agree with that, which only makes the markets smaller and thus courses will cost more. But this is what I was talking about before in terms of the commercialization of our space, from the point of view that it's something that we're starting to see, as I say, when costs start to become this high. And who knows? This is just this year's increase. What's around the corner? If we all accept this, if this is allowed to go through, then it does become more and more corporatized. Basically, it's as simple as that. It's a real worry to me.
Yeah, it feels to me like more than doubling the fee is more likely to be damaging to the industry than beneficial to it, and the justification doesn't seem to stack up. So, it may end up stifling growth for all but the kind of deep-pocketed corporates, and kill the industry at grassroots.
Yeah,
which is such a strange thing to do, isn't it? Because this is the fee, the fee paying, the charge paying side of the industry at the moment, and it's the side of things that they seem to be constantly wanting to play with. And I've said before, it's so frustrating when regulation and changes happen for a future marketplace that doesn't actually exist yet. You need to look after the existing people, help them across into this new wonderful world that you believe is there, but support them through it, not continually hit them over the head until they leave, frankly. And the amount of drones being sold at the moment on Facebook of people saying that's it, I'm done, is concerning.
Unless there is a proven safety issue. So let's have a look at that.
Well, yeah, wouldn't we like to see a proven safety issue related to drones? It's it just isn't there. And of course, every year that ticks by under this current
year
of safe flying, where we're not seeing a ridiculous number of incidents. So it's incredible. But yet every year it passes by, it seems to creep the other way, which is shocking. Now, one of the other things that I think could help ease this situation, and it's something I've heard in terms of certainly in terms of rumor, is actually sea labels. And could sea labels actually be the answer here? So if we're going to be held to the SORA methodology similar to EASA, and we're being pulled along into a much more expensive system in terms of operational authorization holders, surely we should get the benefit of that system in terms of the open category and be allowed to use C1 and C2 drones as intended. Now, we already have the legislation passed in the UK, however altered and however the government changed things to obviously ensure that it wouldn't happen. But it would be a simple thing to allow C1 and C2 drones to be used in the UK as intended on their labels. And surely that would open up a lot of possibilities, a lot of options, wouldn't it, for people, for some people who actually already have OAs that will actually say, actually, I'm going to move over to C1, C2 drones.
Yeah, and that's got to be a lower cost option for the CAA. Of course, it doesn't bring any income in for the CAA, but then I don't think this is, because those operators are not going to be operating with this additional cost. That I think this is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back for a lot of the guys out and girls out there. They're just going to walk away from it. They will fly open category, or they will fly their version of open category, which means putting up a Mavic 3 in congested areas because they've got an A2 CFC and nobody's going to measure the 50-meter horizontal, I suspect.
That's it. Which is all of the. I suppose it confuses me because we're talking about an airspace regulator. It's someone that should be making things safer, or in certainly in something that's already as safe, in my opinion, as drone use, maintaining that safety. And I seem to be seeing things in the last 12 months in particular that I start to consider could be pushing on that, pushing the wrong way, in terms of promoting people to fly outside of regulations, etc., and therefore outside of the support mechanism that's there and everything else. And that does concern me. Because it isn't just a price increase. If a drone business is doing well, then yes, of course it can afford another couple of £100 a year. But it's just the continued battering of this particular segment of the drone industry that is it's just shrinking things completely. I mean, Dorian, have you seen in your own experience? Are you seeing people leave the industry on a higher level in the last 12, 18 months than you have previously?
I would say yes, certainly the solo operators. So I've definitely seen a shift from a large majority of solo operators into operators who have a larger number of pilots. So, you know, from solos to teams, essentially. And that's happened over the last 2 years, 18 months, I would say, and continues to happen. Yeah, people who operate on a solo basis and potentially not on a full-time basis are kind of teetering anyway. So this is likely to, as Graham said, is likely to be the death knell for them because they just can't justify the cost, and they'll either give it up and not fly at all, or they'll adopt a slightly more carefree attitude towards the regs and just, you know, fly under the radar, as it were.
Yeah, and because it's one of the things that came up on the AAE analysis as well, and it does concern me that there's almost, it feels like there's an attitude of assuming everybody's going to fly legally. We're putting a new policy in place, we're changing something, we're doing something, and, you know, yes, that's a problem if, you know, AAE, it's a problem if Mini 3 owners aren't and Mavic owners aren't flying their recreational drones in line of sight. That becomes a problem for those businesses running BV loss flights. But of course, that's breaking the law, so it's not really their problem as such in terms of how you read the policy. So it concerns me from that point of view as well, which is a real problem. Simon Stickland's in the chat. He says, I bet the difference in cost proposal to a charity that Graham won't get a Christmas card from the CAA this year. I didn't actually read that before I brought it up. Thank you for that. Yes, and Lindsay Hayes saying, stop. Never ask who asked for this. The CAA will start a new consultation process and change everything again. Yeah, it is one of those ones. And Dan the Drone Man could see, Dan, wish I could be bothered getting a GVC so I could get an OA and fly my Mavic 3 Pro legally right through the middle of Manchester. This is one of the things as well, is that you prevent people from being able to plan their businesses properly, in my opinion, and take a longer term view of things. And if anybody was looking at this at the moment and saying, okay, do I want to increase the investment in my business? Do I want to move my business forward in terms of flying drones right now? I'm not sure whether, you know, the best advice would be, yes, invest the life savings, yes, and, you know, move forward in an industry that is and a general sport and hobby of drone flying that is proving itself to be safe. Then surely we should also be seeing a situation where it does become easier to regulate and cheaper, therefore, to regulate. I just don't understand why we have had to go down the route of this expensive system. I realize it helps with the SORA side of things, and it helps with the expansion of drone use in the specific category in the UK in the future, but it's just not supporting the existing users, which is just, it's just crazy. I mean, we've already got the elites like Graham with his 1,000-foot OSCs, etc. But this just starts to make even having an OA seem like quite a, you know, an even further step.
And time and again, sorry, after you, Dorian, you're the
I was just going to talk about the user pays principle that they keep mentioning in the document. Really interesting. So, you know, some observers might say that's a slightly flawed principle. So if the user is going to pay, but there's little to no input from the user, consultations aside, then who sets the budget and decides what the money gets spent on?
Yeah.
Not the user.
Yeah.
So if someone else is paying, but you can take as much money as you like from them and decide what to spend it on, you're unlikely to be as prudent with your spend as you might otherwise be.
100% agree. 100% agree with that. Yes.
Shocking.
As Crucial Services is saying here, the CAA definitely need to do much more to nurture and encourage the industry, which is actually one of their mandates, of course, to grow and earn more money from a wider charge base rather than ever decreasing circles, which is why, you know, I'm not into conspiracies and thinking people are lurking around corners ready to, you know, to take our drones out the sky, etc. But at some point you have to start thinking, do they even want this level of operation happening in the UK?
I'm getting there.
So, I mean, what a consultation should be is, look, we're planning to spend £1 million on developing this system that will save you loads of time and make the whole process much more efficient for you. What do you think? It will mean we're going to have to increase the prices a bit, but this is exactly what you're getting and how it's going to benefit you.
Yes. So you're
we're not getting that.
No, indeed. So you're
Yeah.
suggesting a consultation should actually be a consultation, because because even in some of the answers that we got, and again, thank you CAA Comms team for coming back to us very quickly on that. Even in some of those answers and in the wording of the consultation and the report itself, I feel like they're telling us this is happening because, and you know, as you say, it isn't really taking the whole sort of ethos of a consultation into mind, and it's you're not going to learn from your user base either in terms of getting good feedback because it is so closed off. So yeah, it is a concern. So as I've been saying now for nearly the past hour, do go along. There's a link in the description. Go along, whatever level of drone operator you are. We all need to stand up for each other in these instances. And of course, because there is no longer a line in the sand between, you know, commercial and recreational flying, what affects one of us today affects all of us tomorrow, and we really do need to start seeing everybody answering this consultation in terms of really needing to see the justification behind this, and absolutely not seeing a rise up to the 500. And we need to see what's happening behind the scenes to justify to suddenly need this kind of cost when an apparently more efficient system is now in place.
Yeah, and why is it a surprise that it's happened within 12 months? Why is that a surprise?
When it wasn't mentioned in documentation,
Wasn't
launching
mentioned.
it, etc., and that type of thing. That enjoy this year because it's going to be a lot more expensive very, very soon. Which is just crazy. So thank you, Dorian. Thank you so much. Sorry, Graham, you're about to say something.
Sorry, yeah, can I just jump in?
No.
One of the reasons, thank you. I was waiting for that one. One of the things they do say in the document is that they want to break out UAS RPAS from the GA scheme of charges. I think I know why, because obviously if you're going through looking for the UAS stuff, we do a very small part of it. It's not exactly taking up a lot of room in there. If you go looking for it, you might fall upon the costs for doing things in GA. Now GA, I know it's very safe, you know, flying safest form of transport in the world, but offshore helicopter operations, I think they're a bit dangerous. I don't know about you. Approval of older ex-military craft, I think that's possibly fairly dangerous stuff. The rate for advice, the charge out rate for additional advice from the CAA on approvals and exemptions around those areas is £223 an hour. It is £312 an hour, another £89 to pay for a more senior CAA guy or a cleverer one who can work out that something a lot lighter than a plane isn't as likely to kill you as a plane. So we're paying more for a lower risk application and a lower risk assessment. I do not understand.
I think there is a funnel. I think there is a funnel there in terms of length and how long something's been, you know, and how in my opinion, the funnels on the GA side of things are better in terms of getting a process to work more efficiently and keeping costs under control.
They are, but they're fundamentally more dangerous things because they've got people in them and they weigh a bloody ton. Literally, they weigh more than a ton. Indeed. And we've got these little things that could potentially be dangerous, but so far proven not to be.
I can personally see reasons why that there would be some differential, not as much as there would be some, but what confuses me is that we continue to go down the negative route, as in we continue to go down the increasing costs route, with year on year more and more safety being proven to be within drone use full stop. Why we're being dragged down this route, which is the concerning thing. So the link is in there. Somebody just said that the link might not be there. I've just checked, it is definitely there. So go back and refresh and make sure it's there. And do fill out the consultation. If you want to know anything about Dorian's service over at DroneDesk, reach out to him and have a chat. And as he said, there is actually you can start off with a free trial of that fantastic service. He's going to tell us off again because we're 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 picking him up. So,
know.
Dorian really is one of the people in the industry that does so much behind the scenes to help everybody, frankly, at all levels, and is always open for a discussion, a chat, and exactly the kind of person that should be running the type of business that he is running, frankly. So, if you're running a drone industry business at the moment and you don't know about DroneDesk, trust me, I've just made your day, frankly, in terms of making things a little bit more smooth and more efficient. There you go. Perhaps the CAA should get DroneDesk to run the operational authorizations.
And I don't charge you for improvements to the system either.
There you go.
That's all included in the price.
Yeah.
Now, wouldn't that be fantastic? Could you imagine that email coming out from DroneDesk? Yes, we've added all these new features, and we're doubling your subscription fee. Congratulations.
Yeah. Well, the features that you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. Wonderful. Okay, guys. Well, thank you very much. And as usual, as has become a little bit more custom on these regulation shows, we'll give Graham the last word. Eek.
Hello, everybody. Charge your batteries. Charge them now while you can still afford to.
That was creepy, especially in that shirt. Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.